Have you ever set a boundary and felt so guilty afterwards that you caved and did that thing anyway? Here's the truth. That guilt you're feeling isn't actually guilt at all. What you are really feeling is taking on someone else's emotions and the distress that causes us. In this video, I'll show you how to set boundaries without guilt, and more importantly, how to stick to them in a way that honors your values and your peace. Hi, I'm Dawn, and I help people reclaim their power and live authentically by building self-trust and radical self-responsibility. For years, I struggled with boundaries, and I would say yes even when I wanted to say no, to avoid conflict at all costs, and even over-explain my decisions just to avoid judgment. I also struggled with social anxiety. I'd either stay distant or armored up to protect myself, and often I need to have a drink just to be able to relax, only to spiral later wondering, what did I say? Who did I upset? Did I say something stupid? How do I look? What will people think of me? And one day someone called me intimidating. I've heard that before. But this time a friend spoke up and said, is she intimidating? Or are you intimidated? That question changed everything for me. It made me realize I've been carrying other people's emotions for years. Their discomfort wasn't mine to fix. I didn't need to change so that they could feel more comfortable. Their feelings weren't my responsibility. We're not talking about being mean. We're talking about just simply being yourself, not being unkind. And that's when I really learned that one of the most powerful lessons about boundaries. We are responsible for our own emotions, and others are responsible for theirs. And if this resonates for you, stay with me, because I'm going to show you how to set boundaries without guilt and finally reclaim your peace. So first, let's clarify emotion. When you feel guilty after setting a boundary, ask yourself, am I out of alignment with my values? Or am I carrying emotions that don't belong to me? This distinction is everything. Guilt comes from being out of alignment with your values, with your soul. And discomfort comes from breaking old patterns or carrying other people's emotions. So is it guilt that you feel, or is it discomfort? Most of the time, what we think of guilt is actually discomfort because we're doing something new or stepping into growth. 2, use simple boundary scripts. Now, it's not a favorite of mine, but if you've got some that are memorized, it does really help have something to grab onto when we can freeze or feel like we're doing something that's uncomfortable and new. No need to over-explain or justify yourself. Instead, you can just say something really simple. I'm not available for that. Or that doesn't work for me. I need to prioritize myself right now. Often it's our tone of voice and our facial expressions that will give more information than the simple words. I often say, I love that for you. I do not love that for me. And so when we can smile and give love to a person while we're setting those boundaries, if it's somebody within our close inner circle, otherwise, why would you care? So if those are the situations, then find something simple that can work for you. Simple scripts that we can memorize and hold on to. It gives us an anchor place. Boundaries are about protecting your peace, not controlling others. So we want to practice saying these things without over-explaining and let the silence sit. The more you do this, the stronger your boundaries become. It's important that we do this before we get upset. It's only when we're upset and we try to set a boundary that it comes out as an ultimatum or a command. 3, we want to hold the line. When you start setting boundaries, you might feel some pushback from others and even from yourself. So here's what I like to remind myself when it feels uncomfortable. This is hard because it's new, not because it's wrong. Growth is uncomfortable, but it is always worth it. I have used that little affirmation so many times over the past dozen years. Remember, when somebody reacts to your boundary, they're bumping into something. You're bumping into something of theirs. There's an old, there's a Buddhist analogy or story about a monk that goes into a rowboat and sits in the middle of the lake to meditate. And as he's meditating, a boat bumps into his. And the monk starts to get really angry. As he opens his eyes and is ready to give some heck to the other boat pilot, whatever you want to call them, he realizes it's just an empty boat. And at that point, he realizes the anger already existed within him. It just got bumped. So when we are bumping in to somebody else's wounds or triggers and an emotion comes up, that emotion belongs to theirs. And we just bumped into something. If we care, we can ask questions and cultivate conversation around it, not just do the thing that makes them happy. The same goes for us. When they react, they start bumping into our emotions, our triggers, our wounds. And so we just have all this energy bumping into each other and interacting. We don't need to actually act on it. We can stick with our boundary and hold the line. Remember, their reaction isn't your responsibility to fix. Your job is to hold the line and protect your peace. You are responsible for you. As I always say to my clients, you are your only project. So here's what I want you to remember. Boundaries are not selfish, they're self-honoring. And when you stop carrying the emotions that don't belong to you and you start aligning your values, you reclaim your power and your peace. If this resonates for you, download my Authentic Self Blueprint. Boundary scripts and actionable steps are to start reclaiming your power today. And if you're ready to go even deeper, join me on my Authentic You Bootcamp, where we'll work together to rebuild self-trust and live authentically. Let me know in the comments, what's one boundary that you are ready to set today? I would love to cheer you on. I see the light in you, and it is brilliant. Brightest of blessings.